Well, howdy there, daylight burners. How the hell's it going? Happy Monday. Um, hope you're safe over the weekend. You went and burned down Minneapolis. I hope you didn't get arrested, and I hope you didn't burn down anything too terribly. But you shouldn't have to worry about that too much longer, because I guess Minneapolis is gonna try and do away with the police. Um, Anyhow, man, I can't emphasize how crazy this whole world is right now. And I don't know, there's like I know this is a cowboy podcast, and I'm very proud of that fact, and I think I'm one of the few true cowboy podcasts out there. So I'm pretty proud of the fact. And like I said in a post the other day, I do stray off topic from time to time. I understand that, and but there's certain things that I could talk all day long about. Cows and horses being one of them, and also politics and current events is another one. I just there's people that are like big time gun guys. I like guns a lot, but I'm not a gun guy. I that's I don't spend a ton of money on guns. I'm not a car guy. There's people that are car guys. I'm a horse and cattle guy, and I'm also like a junkie for just politics. So, but you all know that. You've been listening to me for a while, so we're coming up on a year, folks. I forget what day it was. I'll have to look real quick. See when the actual 1 year anniversary is. But uh I'm just I'm just kind of a political junkie, and I mean it is what it is. So uh I'm gonna talk about it, but at the same time, it's just it's a crazy time right now, and I don't see how you can not talk about all these events that are going on, because I mean it's insane. And there's so many things that are going on that pertain to us in either indirectly or directly that affect our lives. And so I think it's very important to cover those. And so that means maybe we're not talking cowboy stuff for a little while, but shit, sometimes there's just more important stuff going on. And I think we're at a very important time in history, and for whatever reason, it's just been a wild couple weeks. And so I'm gonna try to tie that into how all that pertains to what we what we do as cowboys. So anyhow, before we get going with that, June 11th. So what is today's 4 days? It'll be the 1 year anniversary of burning daylight. Anyhow, that's kind of cool. Almost 200 episodes in, and you guys have been awesome. So we'll talk a little bit about some current events and philosophy and stuff. But first and foremost, I got to tell you about the best sale barn in America, Loma Livestock, owned and operated by George Raftopoulos, good buddy of mine, hell of a good friend. And one of the big reasons why I have got this new microphone, got all this new studio setting up. You can see my ugly mug bright and clear because I got some new lights. All that stuff has been made possible by my wonderful sponsors, and George and Loma Livestock are They're just top notch. Best sale barn in America. Got a bi-weekly sale going through the summer. This coming Friday, got a sale starting at 10 o'clock with cows and singles, followed by the feeders at 11. That sale barn is at 1369 12 and a half Road there in Loma, Colorado. So go check them out. If you're looking to buy some cattle, you're looking to sell some cattle, or just looking to look at some cattle, go check them out. And if you can't make it, you can don't worry about it. You can watch it online at dvauction.com. Just click on the Loma Livestock tab, and you can also bid right there. You can watch the sale live and bid. And you got any questions about anything, give them a holler, 970-858-9988. Or check them out online at lomalivestock.com. So thanks, George. Also, we got Nick Allen Lute with braided rawhide Hondas. He makes several different styles. If you don't know what they are, you got to check them out. So the Honda, it's it's a loop at the end of your rope that you feed the tail back through, and that's what makes your actual loop. And so in this one, instead of tying one, you tie a knot in the end of your rope, and you slide one of these braided rawhide Hondas on there. And they're about yay big. And they're tough, they're fast, they're heavy. Add some weight to the end of your rope, makes it so you can throw some big fancy loops, or you can chuck it way on out there. Makes it ideal for roping in the wind. And they don't break. I broke the knot on the end of my rope the other day, dragging a steer out of a pen. Took me a little bit to find the Honda because there was a lot of tension built up. About a 8 weight, or pushing 800 pounds, and trying to drag him around a post. A little bit of tension there. Anyhow, I did find it. It was a San Joaquin style, which I liked. And yep, intact, 100% good to go. But you know what? If it would have broke, I would have just sent it back, and Nick would have made me another one, and he'll do the same thing for you. So go check him out on Facebook, Nick Allen Lute, Lute, or Instagram at Will Cowboy for Food. Tell him you heard about it on Burning Daylight. He'll cut you a little deal. And yeah, go check him out. I think you'll like those things. And finally, we got Sarah Robinson with her braided mule tape halters. I think she makes other stuff too. But her halters are second to none. I've had a lot of people ask me about them. And yeah, they're awesome. I don't know what she charges, but you can go ask her yourself at Sarah in the Southwest. And yeah, I'm sure she'll treat you well. She's been kind enough to send me one, and it's awesome. So I think you'll like them. Anybody that would like one, just go check her out on Instagram at Sarah in the Southwest, all one word. Tell her that Burning Daylight sent you. Let her know that you're listening to what I say. Anyhow, I think you'll like them. Go check them out. Thanks to all the sponsors. You guys are awesome. I truly enjoy being able to help support small businesses and working type folks. So it's an honor, and it helps me keep this thing going. So thanks to all of them. Oh boy, folks. What a shit show the United States of America has become. I mean, it is just insane. Oh. So these protests, I kind of thought they might kind of slow down. It seems like, I don't know, I've kind of tried to just turn off the news, and I listened to some podcasts and kind of get the gist of what the big stories of the day are. And I don't know what to think of it. You got Trump wanting to declare Antifa as a terrorist organization, which sounds really good, sounds tough, until you realize what that means under the Patriot Act. So and the fact that Antifa is very loosely organized. They don't have like a very well defined hierarchy, and it's just it's kind of crazy. So that once again with anything dealing with government, when they have that power, you can almost be certain they're going to abuse it. And it may not be Trump, it may not, but it could be somebody further on down the line. It could be somebody like the three percenters get labeled as a domestic terrorist group or as a terrorist organization under the next time we have a Democrat president, or any number of things. Same thing with these state of emergencies. I've said that before as well. What might be a state of emergency for Idaho may not be for Florida, or vice versa. But it doesn't matter. And what might be a state of emergency for a conservative might not mean anything to a liberal. Just as so, climate change is a big deal for most liberals, not that big of an issue for most on the right wing side. But that's not going to stop a progressive politician from declaring a state of emergency on climate change or gun violence or any number of things. So these national emergencies or state of emergencies, they're setting a very dangerous precedent, and that's kind of how I feel with the whole Antifa deal. I'm no fan of Antifa. I think they're just, more than anything, just wanting to stir up trouble. And more than anything, I think they're just a bunch of affluent, rich white yuppies for the most part, thinking that they're doing some sort of brave deed for the black community, or the all the brown people out there. I can say that because I'm half brown, so I think I don't know how that works anymore. But I think that's kind of the root of these protests. Is not so much that it's Antifa causing all of it. I don't think George Soros is behind all of it. I don't even think the government's behind all of it. I think there's probably government agents and different non-governmental organizations that are definitely stirring this shit up. 100% believe that. But I read an article from the AP today where, and here's another thing, is I don't know what to believe, if anything, on the news. It is too damn hard to tell. And it's crazy. But this article from AP said that something like 86% of everybody that was arrested in Minneapolis was from Minneapolis. So not very many out of town organizers or whatever. It's mostly just local folks, whether they were arrested just because they happened to be out after curfew, or if they were, they were just taking the opportunity to get some free shit. Who knows? There's any number of explanations about it, but it seems like for the most part, it's homegrown, and I don't know how accurate that reporting is, but that's what it seems to be. And I don't know what the solution is, to tell you the truth. I just know that all of this stuff is important to talk about. I think actually acknowledging the racial issues is important. Is if you don't acknowledge there's a problem, you're not helping anything, because there's obviously a problem. if they've been bitching about the same thing for over 60 years, there's an issue that still needs to be resolved there. And I don't know how the best way to resolve it, but acting like it doesn't exist is not the right way. And I think burying your head in the sand and not paying attention to it. I don't even think you have to have a very strong opinion on stuff, but I think paying attention to it is important. And you'll hear politicians and pundits and everything talk about the economy and what needs to happen with the economy, but there's very little talk of what the economy actually is. And the economy is just people. Me and you, I've got something you want, you got something I want, or vice versa, and you trade for it. That is the economy. Basically, somebody makes something, somebody else wants that something, and you figure out how to exchange. And that's what the economy is. Uh well, I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day on Elon Elon Musk on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he made a very, very excellent point, uh, stating that if you don't make stuff, there is no stuff. And this was in reference to obviously the shutdown, and the whole coronavirus shutdown, and and that's a very valid point. What would seem to be an obvious point, but one that is not made a whole lot from our elected officials. Uh, you know, it's true. Like if you don't make any stuff, then there isn't any stuff to be had, and you know that I think the whole there's a whole litany of reasons for the violence and the madness going on out there, but I think right at the heart of it is the fact that the government, whether it be the state or the local or the federal government, has become such an overbearing presence to the average folks that there's just people are tired of it. They were forced to stay home. They lost their job. Become impoverished over the course of a couple months. It doesn't take very long. Um, and then the more and more you see the facts come out, the more and more it looks like this whole shutdown was for nothing. You look at some of the cases or the numbers from New York City, and like 2/3 of like the new positive cases of COVID-19 have come from people that haven't left their apartment. So, like, if you can get it when you're doing everything the proper way, then there's no way you're not going to get it, or there's no way you can prevent getting it. So, the shutdown doesn't do anything, and all the hype, all the fear mongering is coming home to roost, and the numbers are just not adding up, and it's just becoming very clear that this whole thing was for nothing, and we were just kind of duped by our government, which not all of us, some of us had been talking about it for quite some time. It's just, and it's one of those things that I think that at the heart of it, that is the cause of most of this stuff, and it just took one guy, George Floyd, getting assassinated on camera, basically, I don't know if that's the right word, assassinated, murdered, for sure. Uh, Anyhow, it took something that horrific. Um, I don't even think it would have took something that horrific, but that's what happened, and and it just took something like that to set off this whole thing. Uh, it reminds me a lot of 1968. That was kind of why I shared that, or I used 1968 by Turnpike Troubadours the other day, simply because this reminds me of the events of 1968. If you don't recall, that was an election year. That was uh, when Nixon won his first term in as the president. There was the anti-war movement, protests going on everywhere. They were violent. Bobby Kennedy got shot, and just a whole lot of turmoil. A lot of it centered around race relations as well. And you've got a not really a popular Republican candidate, and now in this case a sitting president, not particularly popular, but claiming to be the law and order guy. And I think that's going to win out in this election. Um, or as much of an idiot Donald Trump is on a lot of things, he is a master at controlling the narrative, whether it be the daily news cycle or you know trolling the media into disagreeing with him on a very popular issue. And you know he's just he's kind of a he's just a master of manipulating the system or the circumstances to fit to his narrative. And that's a it's a giant reason for why he's president. That's why a giant reason for why he won in the first place. And there's just so many similarities, but it gets tiresome just following all of that. But those are the like those are the kind of the foundation for what the parallels are between this year 2020 and 1968, which was one of the more volatile years in our country's history as far as internal strife. Aside from the Civil War, obviously, and the Revolutionary War, and some more violent times. But as far as just being divided as a country, this ranks up there, among the most divided we've ever been as a country. And I don't even think necessarily that's a bad thing. I think there's I think we think way too much as a unified people, and when the fact of the matter is we've got over 300 million people, there is no possible way we can all be unified on anything really. There's always going to be some people that disagree with others, and that's not a bad thing. But I I there's a lot of calls for being united, and I understand the sentiment. I just don't know if it's going to happen, and I'm not much of a pessimist. Um, but I think this situation is. I think it might be untenable. I think we might be seeing the collapse of whatever form of government that we have right now. This kind of corporate um, kind of oligarchy almost. And I don't know. I think I really think there's something weird about this year. But it all relates to us as cow type people, cowboys, ranchers. There's still a lot of stuff that that's not getting reported on because of what's going on right now. And I think there's a lot of that is intentional. Um, you can always be sure when there's an outroar to the extent that we've had. You can always be sure that there's something else that the government doesn't want you to see going on in the background. I would guarantee that 100% of the time. Um, one of the biggest things is you'll notice that the COVID-19 coronavirus deal is just a thing of the past. It was every day, day in, day out, live death counts. Medical experts here, epidemiologists there, pundit, politician. But it was just hammered down your throat constantly. Coronavirus updates, coronavirus pandemic, blah, 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 blah. There was protests in, several different places from people just a couple weeks ago saying, hey, we need to get back to work and what you're doing is wrong. And they were villains because they're gonna cause a spike in COVID-19 cases, and more people are gonna die because these people just are so selfish. But when you go out to protest against racism and police brutality, well, then COVID-19 takes a back seat. It's gone, like overnight, it's gone, and uh, the people in power, they don't want you talking about that because you start talking about that and you realize, well, maybe this whole thing was horse shit, and well, um, it's that I think that's the big narrative that we're missing right now because of these riots and protests and looting and all the nonsense going on out there, and the and it's a shame that a noble effort that this started was just protesting the death of an unarmed black man is getting overshadowed by all this nonsense, and that's the true tragedy in that. But also, the vast majority of Americans followed along like sheep and allowed themselves to have their their civil rights just stripped away in one foul swoop for their own for their own safety, as always. And you know now the more the numbers coming out, uh, it looks like this thing was horse shit. One of the other big issues that you're not hearing talked about a whole lot, but um, Pilgrim's Pride had several people indicted on charges of price fixing in the poultry market. So, Pilgrim's Pride, one of the bigger poultry packers in the country, owned by JBS, Brazilian company. Yeah, there was. I don't know if it's a CEO. I don't know the details on that. Most of the stuff I've just kind of caught headlines, so I know a little bit about what's going on, but I haven't read into it very deep. But indicted on counts of price fixing, and the DOJ just subpoenaed the four major beef packers as well, an investigation on their price fixing. So, congratulations, USCA and RCAF and all these groups that have been fighting for an investigation. It looks like you finally got one. I don't know what's going to come of it. Sorry, it's been a long day. Windy as fuck today. But I don't know what's going to come of these investigations, but I do think it's significant that they're happening. I don't know quite what to I don't know what's going to come of it. That's the part that's scary about it. Is I don't know how heavy-handed the government's going to be, and I don't know. I just don't know. I'm always leery when us, any industry that I work in has a concentrated effort to, you know, to asking the government to step in. That just gets me nervous. So I don't know what's going to come of this, and but that's a pretty huge deal, especially considering the bottlenecks that we experienced during this pandemic shutdown. Um, you saw a lot of empty meat cases, particularly on the beef side. I think that's just because beef's better than every other meat out there. But um, yeah, there was starting to get to be a beef shortage. It's picking back up, and it turns out a lot of these plant shutdowns were due to government regulation on the COVID side, and then also people were scared, which understandably, as I said with the media, that's all you heard was how deadly and how serious this thing was, and how so many people have died already, and so many more people are going to die. And if you don't wear a mask, well, you want your grandma to die. And yeah, it's just it's just it's insane, and it's too much at times. And with that in mind, I hear those folks that have urged me to get back to talking cowboy shit. Trust me, I want to. I would nothing more than just like to talk about cowboy shit. But I messaged a fellow the other day that I think this is too important of a time to stay silent on what's happening. And if I don't say something now, I'll always regret not saying it. So I think it's important to talk about it, and I'm going to just because I can. And you can always keep or just not listen if that's not your deal. I understand. I don't hold it against you. Um, but it's, as I said before, it's one of those things that interests me, but I think it's important. And it's just going back to the economy deal, where the economy is just people making transactions. They're trading goods or services for currency, or whether it be bartering or whatever. It's the economy is just people making stuff and selling stuff. Uh, we're all making these transactions with each other, and when there's an interruption in the normal day-to-day transaction, it trickles throughout. The shockwaves are felt throughout the entire economy, which means throughout all the people. So when you have shops being looted and broken into and destroyed in Minneapolis, say there's a custom butcher. Well, let's say Minneapolis has a large Somalian population for whatever reason. I don't know what brought the Somali refugees to Minnesota, of all places. From what I understand, Somalia is pretty damn hot. And they are very, very dark skinned black folks. Moving to Minnesota, which is bitter cold in the winter and largely Scandinavian, people, white folks of Scandinavian descent. So about as polar opposites as you can get culturally, and and then physical appearance, climate wise too. But for whatever reason, there's a large Somalian population in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and so say one of the shops that gets broken into and looted is a halal butcher or something like that. So halal being like I don't know what the requirements are, but it's basically, and I'm paraphrasing, so if I get this wrong, sue me. I don't know. but it'd be the Muslim equivalent of kosher beef. So it has to be blessed by a Muslim. They call him cleric or priest. I'm not for sure. Not a rabbi. Rabbi would be the Jewish, but like the kosher beef is blessed by a rabbi. The halal beef is prayed over by, I think, a cleric is what their title is, or yeah, I think so. I'm not sure, but anyhow, they're basically the equivalent of that. So if that guy's shop gets looted, and say he just goes out of business, his insurance doesn't cover it, whatever. Well, then he stops buying beef from whatever plant he's getting it from. That trickles down because it shit like that, just something small, seemingly insignificant. This shop closes down, but they stop buying goods from here. So now that person is scrambling to find another market, and maybe they don't find the market, so their goods go to waste or their goods go unsold. They have to lay off workers. Could be the same way, if there's a demand for beef, but you can't get it to them, and then the way the prices are now, it doesn't take much for a local rancher to go out of business, quit hiring his day help cowboys that come day help for him, or he has to lay off his hired hand and make it go at it alone. It all trickles down, and that's why this is important. We're so interconnected globally nowadays that it's just it's like the butterfly effect. The beating of a butterfly's wings can be felt throughout the entire economy in different varying levels. So the stuff that I've been covering, while it may not be directly cowboy related, it affects us all as cowhands and truck drivers and grain brokers and commodity brokers. It all affects us, and there's maybe not a good solution for any of it, but at the very least, it's good to be informed on it. And I know I probably lost a few listeners over my stances on this deal, and I guess I say good riddance or whatever. I hate to see you go, but I don't know, if you can't handle that, then I know I lost some followers on Facebook over I reposted a Colin Kaepernick post from Instagram, and I simply said, most of my listeners hate this guy, but he wasn't wrong when he says that when you try to protest peacefully and you're met with ridicule or silence, that violence is the next logical step. And he was right. Even Roger Goodell, the smug commissioner of the NFL, came out and said we were wrong. That's a pretty huge statement. John Elway, who is known to be like a pretty hardline Republican, came out and said they couldn't have been more wrong as the Denver Broncos. I mean, those are big time power players coming out and saying that, hey, we were on the wrong side of this thing. And I think they were. Like I said, I think it doesn't make Colin Kaepernick less of a douche. It just means he was right on that particular statement. That was my point trying to get across. I had got accused of ginning up hate, or I got called a liberal several times, which is hilarious. Also got lectured to about the Constitution by a guy who was calling for Trump to send in the military, not the National Guard, but the U.S. military to shut down a riot. No sense of irony there. Yeah, I caught some heat. I knew I was going to. Um, but I think by and large, you guys are all smart enough to get what I'm coming at, and you know, more than anything, I got positive reinforcement from this. Like I got positive feedback. I got people saying that, hey, I'd never quite looked at it that way before, and may not agree with you, but you bring up some good points. And that's all I'm trying to do is bring up some points, bring up a different point of view and a different way of thinking. So, and the biggest thing is try to put yourself in the shoes of these people that are actually protesting. I don't want to put myself in the shoes of these Antifa douchebags because I don't like that mindset. Uh, and I think it's a very simple mindset, and that's just kind of burn it all down. And I say stuff like that kind of tongue in cheek, but I've read enough through history to know that revolution is messy, and I don't know. I think we're getting closer and closer to that point. If we're not there yet, I don't know if we've passed the point of no return, but it feels like we're getting closer and closer. And I think there could be some good things that come out of this. This deal in Minnesota or in Minneapolis, I think there's 12 members of their city council, and 9 of them have pledged to support defunding and disbanding the Minneapolis Police Department. Um, what all that entails, I don't know. They're looking at setting up some sort of like community policing program, but I don't know. But you still have the sheriff's department there, and I don't know. It seems to be a pretty radical idea, but I'm not gonna knock it. I don't know what the details are, but I'll be interested in seeing how it works, and I'll be watching that one pretty closely. And if it turns out to be a good thing, then bravo to Minneapolis and all of their lefty progressives. If they can make it work, then good on them. Um, but I think there's a lot of shit that's still gonna happen between now and the election in November. And man, I I don't know how much more this country can take. But I still go back to my statements the other night. I still think the best thing that you can do is stay armed and take care of your own. That's really the only thing you have any sort of semblance of control over is your own household. So take care of that and be prepared if shit hits the fan. But until then, I don't know. Stay informed, stay educated, read some history. I posted a picture today or screenshot. I was listening to Dan Carlin's latest episode of Hardcore History. You haven't listened to it and you like history, you were missing out. Um, but there's just so many little lessons that we can pick up throughout history if you don't even have to dig very deep to find them. Just read some events throughout history, and it'll be amazing what you can learn from it. So that, if I got any advice on that, it's just stay armed, be able to protect yourself, make sure you have food and water for at least a month, and take care of your household because that's the only thing you really have any control over. And be very, very skeptical of what you hear from the media and from politicians on either side of the aisle. They're all full of shit. And the more they can keep us at each other's throats, the less we're looking at how bad the government has fucked us during this pandemic, and the more they can stay in power. So, you know, uh, try to look past all the bullshit and see what's actually happening. And the more people that do that, the less the less of a grasp the government has on us, the less power they have over us, and that's good for everybody. So I don't know. It's it's a wild time. It's an interesting time. I think when the dust settles from everything, we're gonna look back at it and just be like, "Holy shit, that was crazy." So I don't know. That's about all I got for you. It's a crazy time. Don't worry, we'll get back to some cowboy stuff. I know we've had some requests for Scott Hall. Um, I don't know how much of this I should share because just to respect his privacy, but I tried to get him on for one of the bull sessions the other day. It's been about a month or so, and he recently moved back up to Idaho. And he just said he was having some pretty big issues in his personal life, and it wasn't a good time for him. So, and then there's other people I'm trying to get on, and we will. It's just it's getting schedules to line up. It's a little crazy, and now with everything starting to open back up, and it's summer, and it's gonna might be a few more solo shows for a while, but that's how it goes. We'll get back to some cowboy stuff. I promise you that. But when something as big as this is going on, you got to talk about it. So, and I should be used to it by now. I talk a lot of politics, so that'll happen too. But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Man, a year. When is the 11th? That Friday? I'm not for sure. Thursday. Well, shit. Bull session will be the 1 year anniversary. So tune in. Might do a giveaway or something for that. But anyways, thank you all for listening. I do appreciate it. This thing is took off a lot more than I thought it was going to, and I'm not sure what we got going for the next year, but I got some pretty cool ideas, and I've got some plans, and I think you're gonna like them. But thanks again just for sticking with me. I think we got something pretty cool here. We got a really neat little community built. So thanks for being part of it, and I appreciate y'all. Make sure you go, if you're new to the show, go follow me on social medias. I'm Matt McKinley on Facebook, at MickerMac85 on Twitter and Instagram. The show pages are Burning Daylight on Facebook and YouTube, and at Move Your Ass on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And go check out the website, burning-daylight.com. The final four matchups are on the Facebook page. There's each matchup is a poll. We got the Cowboys versus Tombstone, and we got way too many people voting for Tombstone. I love Tombstone; it's a great movie, but come on, the fucking Cowboys, man. So go vote on that. And then we also got Outlaw Josie Wales versus Open Range. That one is starting to turn into a little bit of a landslide with Open Range starting to pull away. Anyway, so make sure you go vote on that if you haven't yet. And thanks again. But I got some editing to do, and it's getting late, so move your ass. We're burning daylight.